Hi and welcome to Kaylas Crafted Creations. Today we're going to create this lovely little card box with just with some gift cards in it. But we're going to do it a little bit different. This one's been done with the Bird Ballad Suite. But I want to make one for a Christmas theme. So this time I'm going to be using Very Vanilla and the Brightly Gleaming Speciality DSP and some Christmas stamp sets that I've got to create this box this time. So to begin, you're going to need your scoreboard and some pieces of card. First piece of card measures 8 1/4 by 5 3/4. So let me just bring my scoreboard up. And on the long side, you need to score at 1 and 7 3/4. Now you can make it a narrower bit, but I like it quite a bit to be able to hold on to. And then on the short side, score at 1 inch, and that's that bit. That is all the scoring on that bit of card. So that's 8 1/4 by 5 3/4 scored at 1, 7 3/4, and then 1 on that side. Then you're going to need a piece of card that measures 8 1/4 by 10. And on this one, you're going to score at 1, 5 3/4, and 6 3/4. Now turn it to the short side. You're going to score at 1 and 7 3/4. And that's all the scoring done. Let's just get rid of that. So at this point, you're going to fold and burnish your score lines. Like so. Now these make nice little gifts, or you can sell them at your craft fairs. I find that selling something all packaged nicely always goes better than something just bundled together. Now for this bit, we're just going to trim the line straight up the side of that rectangle there, and then slightly notch on the other side. And we're going to go to this side, and we're going to go straight up the side of the rectangle, and then we're going to notch our square. Like so. And that is that piece done. So we've notched the square, kept the rectangle side straight, and we've just slightly notched that one there. And I think I'm going to slightly notch that bit there just to make it so it goes together a bit better. So that is that bit done. Now with this one, it's slightly different. I'm going to fold and burnish the score lines. Let's get rid of that rubbish there. Fold and burnish these score lines here. Should have moved that further out of the way. I don't know about many of you, I don't have a big space for crafting. I have a craft room, but I can't really get into it. So I crafted a little table in my living room. And this is where we are today, in my living room. So as you're burnishing your score lines, make sure that your lines are all meeting up and are all straight. because you don't want wonky lines. Alright, so let's tuck that in there. Right, so for this one, just like the first one, we're going to notch that bit there very slightly. It doesn't need a lot. Then we're going to go straight up the side of the rectangle. I'm going to go straight up the side of the rectangle on this side. Then we're going to notch into the square. To create the flap, we're going to trim off the entire side down to the second score line. So we've gone past the first score line and down to the second score line. And we're just going to cut that nice and straight, like so. And the same on the other side. We're going to trim down the side, down the side. Past the first score line, up to the second score line. Now I'm slightly notching this very slightly, so that when it comes to gluing my box together, it's a little bit easier. Now let's move those bits out of the way. To create my detail on this one, I've used an edging trimmer there and one there, so I'm going to do exactly the same on there. Now they're from the Magnolia memory dies, and that is this die here which created this, and the other one is from the Be Mine Stitch framelits, which is this long one here. So I'm gonna very quickly jump off video and run that through the big shot, so I'll be seeing you in a second. Right, now I've run those through the die. Now it leaves a little edge on it, so it's just where I've caught it and not quite gone up to the corner. So what I like to do with the corners is that I like to round them, and I'm using the tri-punch. So just pop that in there, making sure you line it up. It just finishes the corner off nicely. As I say, the die is not quite long enough for this box, but once you've rounded the corner, it actually looks alright. So there's that bit. And for this one, now this die doesn't cut the sides, so you end up with this, but luckily enough it does mark it where you've, I don't know if you can see, it leaves a little mark that you can follow. So if you just trim down to the line where it comes off, and then trim down to that bit there, and you're left with that nice patterned edge. I'll just put those dies to one side. Now remember, that's from Magnolia memory dies and from the stitched the Be Mine Stitched framelits. It's quite a lovely set, that, but it does just finishes the box off nicely. It gives a nice edge rather than just that plain square edge. Now Tombo's out, so I'm having to use Beacon 3-in-1, which is quite a good glue. So we just run some glue down the edge there. Not get my head in the way, am I? And you just line your box up. Now you can quite easily convert this into a little bag. by adding a handle, but I quite liked it as a gift box for cards. So just rub that on, right, just make sure we've got our score lines, our glue nicely meshed on there, and fold that down like that, and we'll glue this side onto that. Now this Beacon 3-in-1 does dry clear, as does Tombow, but obviously as we know Tombow is out of stock at the moment, so we're having to make do with other glues. I've got a little bit of Tombow left which I'm saving for those moments where you need your little dabs of glue for your diamantes and things. So there we go, that's our box shape like that. So starting with your back facing you, add a little bit of glue to your flaps, and fold your back forward. That way when you come to gluing the front there, you don't end up with a seam at the front of your box. So just give that a couple of seconds to grasp, then we'll add some glue to this. And we'll glue that down like so. Now just to help that grab, if you get your bone folder and run from the inside, just to help you get the grasp on it, just like so, and then that is your box flap done like that. Now decorating, you can decorate in a multitude of ways, however you feel you like, but today I'm going to use copper copper foil sheets and the brightly gleaming Speciality DSP, because I quite like the idea of the copper colour. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab a piece of this. Now I did the fancy shape on the first one, the nested stitch dies, but this time I'm going to do a square pattern on there, so I'm changing it just slightly, just because I think it would look better with this design. So I'm going to need, the box itself, or the flap itself, measures 6 3/4 by 3 1/4, but I need to bring that up a little bit, so I'd say 3 1/8. So I'm going to make that 2 7/8 by 6 1/2. I'm just going to trim that. Let's just bring that on. 2 7/8. This card is gorgeous, lovely thick card. I just need to open that up now. Just move that out of the way. It's very difficult not to bring your head over when you're filming. I'm having to keep correcting myself. So it's 2 1/4 or 6 1/2, and that should sit on there quite nicely. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to round those corners in a second, but I'm also going to trim my DSP down. And for this front of all the DSPs, now I'm going to show you all the DSPs that are here because they are gorgeous. You get 2 of each design. You get 2 of that design, 2 of the ornaments design, 2 of this design, 2 of this one, and that, I like the pretty peacock one, 2 of the mossy meadow, obviously back to the night of navy there. But for the purposes of this box, we're actually going to use the ornaments one. Just grab one of those. And we're going to cut that to 2 5/8. By 6 1/4. Just bring that in there. Put that on there. That's that. Bring back our corner rounder. That's not quite gone right. Let's have a look. There we go. And we'll do the same with the copper foil sheet. Put that out of the way. And that's out of the way. So we're going to layer that on top of there. Isn't that beautiful? I love this paper. Now layer that on like that. Now using your glue, because you're working on copper foil, you need to use your wet glue. Now I use a lot of wet glue because it bonds the fibres, but you could use snail or dimensionals even, like to give it a bit of shape. But what I want to do in a minute, just to give this a bit of a lift, is to, out of the little bit that I cut, is to cut a few of the ornaments out by hand and stick them on dimensionals just to give it a bit of lift. Alright, so that's that. Bring back your box, and that will go on there like so. So get your glue again. Always takes longer to come out when you're on video. This is my first actual YouTube video, so I'm hoping you like it and I'm not waffling too much. Try and be as quick as possible as well. I know people don't like long videos. And I'm going to do the cards in a separate video so you can pick and choose which bit you want to watch, if you want to watch the cards being made or just the box. There we go, and that is the box done like that. Can you see? It's on there like so. As I said, I want to fussy cut a couple of these out using my scissors. Like so. One of those. Now, fussy cutting isn't for everybody. I've also got a scanner cut that would cut this out for me, but fussy cutting for just a couple of bits is ideal. I mean, I may send this bit through the scan and cut anyway, just to get all the ornaments off of it, but for now, fussy cutting is the quickest way for me to have done this. The fact I only want 3 ornaments just to lay at the side of my box, just to give it a bit of shape. There we go. Those. Now, where's my dimensionals? Where did I put them? She says. So I found my dimensionals. They were hiding as per normal. And what I'm going to do is just where I see these, I'm just going to pop my dimensionals just to give a bit of depth to what would be a very plain so just a little bit of depth. I'm using my pickup tool because it makes it life a lot easier. I'm using the pointy end of this. You've got multiple ends that you can use, but I like the pointy end. So I like my take your pick. Like this is take your pick tool. There we go. Let's pop that there. So that makes that, and we'll add a few diamonds from the Noble Peacock range because I quite like these, and they've got the green and the Noble Peacock, the old olive, mossy meadow. I can't get into the packet, but what I want like that. few of these around. Just to give it a bit of a sparkle. Okay, just add a little bit of something to it. Put that to one side. Put that over there. My dog having a bark up. Probably my daughter turning up now. Just to make the closure, I've used Velcro dots. Now these Velcro dots are losing their stickiness, so what I do, I just add a bit of glue to the back. And stick it where I want it. Give that a minute to go off. Just give that a minute. Then a bit of glue on there. And this is where it gets a bit tricky, because I have to line my box up where I want it, touch it down so I can see where the glue is. Oh, it's not what I wanted to happen. Put that back where it was and stick that where it touched down there. Now with this glue, the thing about this glue is you can clear up little stragglers, little straggly lines of glue that you get. It does come off, and you just pop it down, push it down like so. And that is your box made. Now I'm going to do a second video on the cards that I'm going to make, and I hope you like the box in my creative mess, and that you enjoyed making one for yourself. It's very simple box, but it makes a nice change to have box your cards given out in a nice box. So that is the box, and I will be back with part 2 with the cards.